Hello everyone, Kent.Bressler here. I want to welcome you to Kent's Kidney Stories. During our time together over these podcasts, I'd like to discuss kidney disease. I'd like to tell you about my journey as a transplant patient, but also talk about dialysis, kidney donation, and just about anything else that might be of interest. Kent's Kidney Stories, podcast endorsed and sponsored by kidneysolutions.org.
Hello, everyone. This is Kent.Bressler, Kent's Kidney Stories. We're going to do some podcasting today. And as usual, I've got a great guest. And as usual, it seems like I'm running behind, but I'm actually catching up, which is a good thing because I'm fixing to go on vacation. But we'll keep the podcasts coming. I appreciate all of you out there that have been listening and have been liking the whole situation and making comments. I appreciate that. And so before we get started, we always start with prayer. And so let's do that. Our thanks and gratitude go to you, O Heavenly Father. Your many blessings that you have given us, our health, our families, our friendships, but most of all, your offer of salvation comes when we most often need it. Are we listening for your instructions? Has our faith grown stronger through our love for you? I think so. But let us also remember that you forgave our sins, and that brings us to our knees. Amen. So I wanted to make maybe one really solid announcement today before we get started. And I wanted you to be aware that the American Association of Kidney Patients is having their global summit. This is one that I've attended for many, many years, and it's a kind of a hybrid this year. They're bringing some people in, and then some of us are going to be in the summit. We're going to be listening to it on virtual. So you do need to sign up, and if you go on aakp.org, you'll see it. It's called sign up for the Global Summit on Kidney Disease Innovations. And it would behoove you to read the folks that are coming in, check them out. They have a wide variety of information that's going to be disseminated, and that this group really does a great job of that. This is the 5th time they put this on, and it's June 28th to the 29th, so put that on your calendar, and virtual or in person, so there you go. If you want to go, it's at Jack Morton Auditorium in Washington, D.C., and that's on the campus of George Washington University. So best of luck to AKP as they do this virtual and on-the-spot confirmation of kidney disease. All right. For that, we're happy, and we're also happy that we're tuning in quite a few listeners, and I appreciate that. And we're going to go off script a little bit today. This will be the first interview discussion. It's not an interview. It's just a kind of a fun way of just talking to people who've been transplanted. And listen, this gal that I'm going to bring on, and I'm going to mispronounce her name because I don't get it right. and it's Kimberly Jacques. Not. Say it for me.
Jacques. From spelling English pronunciation, I believe everybody, butchers it.
Well, we're off to a good start. I mumbly peg around, and this is a good one. I don't do names well. I can pronounce them, use the old English, and because I'm so old anyway. But listen, it's a good thing to have you on today. I'll give you a little background of Kimberly. I'm going to call her Kim. She gave me permission.
Yeah.
And she said, when I asked her to write a little bit of a bio, kind of give me an idea what we were going to get into, she said, quote, after having a semi-normal childhood throughout the 80s and early 90s, Kim actually did undergo a risky and rarely performed double heart and double lung transplant. Now, mind you, get this, you ready? This was at the age of 16. And I can't ask ladies their age. So I will tell you that she's a member of the Quarter Century Club like I am. And trust me, you can do the math. And if you can't get your 3-year-old or somebody else to do it for you. All right. So it's been more than a quarter of a century since she had this. And we're going to talk today about just some of the trials and the tribulations, but also the triumphs that she's had and how she's done it. Okay. I know God's had a big hand in it, but I'm going to tell you one thing. When I look on the screen here and you see her picture, it's amazing. It is amazing. And so enough of that frivolity. Let's get right to it. Kim, how are you today?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm fine. You know what? When I first started out doing these podcasts, I thought, gee whiz, it's kind of stuffy. It was kind of hard for me to get started on. Now I don't have any clue why I don't do more of them. I would love to do more of them, and I've got plenty of candidates. But you're an interesting cat. Let me tell you what. You are an interesting cat. A double lung transplant on top of a heart transplant and all at once.
Yeah.
Well, how did that work for you? Was it real easy?
Oh, no.
It couldn't have been easy.
No.
Tell me, you were 16 years old. What brought all of this on?
Well, do you want the Cliff's Notes version or the extended edition?
Well, I think you should do what you want to do today. It's going to take as long as we want to. This is a freewheeling program, and I don't want to put any on you. What happened?
So this all started with my heart. My heart issues happened at, simply put, the moment of conception. And in the easiest way I can explain it, I had holes in my heart.
Holes.
And every time my heart would beat, the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood would flow and mix and go throughout the rest of my body. Now, apparently, from what I was told over the years, I had like 2 to 3 big holes and then a bunch of little ones. In fact, when I was 2.5, my doctors in Boston, because that's where I was born, they didn't even attempt to do surgery on my heart because it was too many holes, too high risk. Now, with these holes in my heart and everything, there's oxygenated, deoxygenated blood. It eventually, flowed, and like a cancer, not saying it was, but like a cancer, it spread into my lungs. Hence why I couldn't get one without the other. On top of that, I was born more than 10 weeks early.
Oh, preemie too. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
So you put all that stuff together, hence why I couldn't get one without the other. And in fact, when I got my full diagnosis when I was 2, my parents were told that if I live long enough, I might receive this operation that's in its infancy stages. This operation we, of course, now call a heart and lung transplant, because the first successful one happened in 1981, but that was on an adult. The earliest pediatric one that I've been able to find, based on research, didn't happen until 85.
1985.
Right. But my parents were first told in 82 about the, possibility, she has to live long enough, all that.
Did you develop a lot of symptoms with that? You had a lot of trouble breathing
Well, the winters in Boston were not easy on me, as you can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure not.
So when I was almost 5, we moved down here to Florida. We moved to the Tampa area. And because of the timing of our move, I was able to have a semi-normal childhood. So
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I have two sisters. My first sister was full term. And like I remember locking her in the hall closet numerous times, and we even have it on home movie.
You locked her in the closet.
I locked her in the hall closet because you're driving me nuts. I can remember playing in the backyard on our swing set, and nearly getting in trouble for almost destroying it when I was 9, because my friend and I tried to turn it into a mudslide. Keep in mind that this was a metal swing set, so a bunch of dirt, when it dries off, it's stuck.
Exactly, and stuck hard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like for me, like I can remember getting in trouble for cutting off Barbie's hair again. I did that a fair number of times. I was active in the Girl Scouts, and yes, I sold those cookies and went on camping trips. I made the honor roll, a fair few times. I accidentally gave my entire second grade class chicken pox right before winter break.
Which
mean,
endeared you to them for sure.
Yep. Saturday mornings, I got up early to watch cartoons like any other kid from that era. Like I had that schedule memorized. So I knew when to switch between like ABC, NBC, CBS.
So you could watch it.
My cartoons. Like that's what I remember. I mean, it wasn't perfect. And yes, there are times looking back, I'm like, oh, okay. Because by the time I was 10, I had to stop doing PE at school. Every year, starting from the age of 5, I saw my cardiologist annually.
And
it wasn't until I was 10 that I realized, oh wait, not every kid sees a special heart doctor every year, because that's how normal of an upbringing my parents tried to give me. It wasn't perfect and all that, but it was, fairly normal compared to most kids with chronic illness.
Well, especially of the heart and lungs. I mean, those are the drivers of your body, right? I mean, you breathe.
Exactly. I went to school. I, went to middle school and everything. But the catch is that for many recipients, they have a pre-transplant than a post-transplant. I've got this weird section in the middle because I didn't know how sick I was growing up. Like the word transplant entered my vocabulary.
Right.
Sort of thing. And I found out by accident when I was 14 from a doctor I had literally just met, because he was filling in for my cardiologist. And he just, he walked in, he introduced himself to my dad and me because my mom was in the waiting room. He introduced himself. And right after that, he says to us, I've just gone over the results of Kimberly's echocardiogram. Let's talk transplant centers. And I'm thinking, trans what?
Oh my goodness. So that's how you found at the age of 14.
Yeah.
The doctor literally said,
summer vacation. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start looking for transplants.
Yeah.
Let's get you on the list and stuff. Yeah.
Add to it, when I turned to my dad, hoping he would tell me that this was like a misunderstanding or something else. The look on his face said something else entirely. And I'll never forget that look. His look said to me, I'm sorry, Tim, but I didn't want you to find out like this.
Yeah, well, and it did happen, Kim, right? It did. And that it kind of tore you out a little bit. It really didn't make much sense because you didn't understand it. And it still makes you tearful, right?
No, this is actually allergies.
Oh.
But I mean, it wasn't a good time in my life. In fact, I ended up staying with my grandmother that summer for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because he knew that she could get me to
you could listen to her, right?
And all that stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And just because of the way I found out, it kind of sped up the decline in my health because it shifted the way that I saw myself.
Right.
School that fall, which was 9th grade, was not enjoyable just because I felt so different from my friends. Like on the first day of school, people are asking us to what you did this summer. I couldn't exactly respond by saying, I just found out that I'm a walking time bomb. Like, no, you
Yeah,
don't do that
really,
at 14
really.
because I was still processing it. And then by that December, that's when we went to St. Louis for my evaluation. Because when my workers were sent all across the country that summer of 94, 3 transplant centers turned me down immediately just by looking at my record. They said, nope, she's too high risk. We don't want to meet with her.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But St. Louis was not one of them. They were willing to meet with us, so they did. And I had my evaluation, including a whole day with the psychologist. And so did my
oh,
parents actually, because since I was a minor, they had to match each other and I had to match them.
right. Could it be
Um,
like being on the same page?
yeah, basically. I mean, I'm still surprised that I passed that, but that's another story.
Well, what I was going to ask you, this is a sped up version of what took
Yeah,
14 years.
yeah, up to
And a
14
pretty
years.
pretty good cruise for 14 years. And then it really is the 2 years that you really had your decline, right?
Yeah.
A- And
Um,
and that was mental, that was emotional and physical, because your heart wasn't getting any better and your lungs weren't getting any better and they weren't
right.
going to get any better, right?
No, no. Um, so I had the evaluation, they put me on the list, and because this was the first time they'd ever had anybody with my health issues, they simply put had me become their guinea pig.
Ah, okay.
So they had me come every 6 months so that they could see how I would decline, so that they would have an idea for future patients. December 94, okay, come back 6 months. June 95, come back 6 months. And that actually June 95, we met the surgeon for the first time, and that was almost exactly 1 year to the day of when I got my transplant, which is crazy.
Really?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. And
So
then
this guy, when you met him, what was he like? What was this surgeon
the
like?
surgeon,
Yeah, what was his demeanor? How did he
he was
approach
fine.
you?
He was just very chill. He compared it to like plumbing problems. So that like anybody so that the average person could understand what the process was going to be like and that sort of thing. Um,
Did you
like
understand that? Did you really actually understand that at that
no,
time?
I didn't, but my dad picked up on it real quick. He knew
Well,
exactly what he was
sure.
talking about when he explained it. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the rest of the staff, they were fantastic, which was one of the main reasons that we went with St. Louis, because there were some others that considered meeting with us, but for some reason something told me to just stick with St. Louis.
Well, they took you in.
St.
They
Louis
was
did.
the first, and they didn't waver. Everybody else wavered. They didn't.
Yep, everyone else saw we were St. Louis did have me go across their bridge to go to the adult hospital to have x-rays done
Right.
because x-rays done and everything, because I do have scoliosis, which is the main reason other centers didn't want to touch me at
Sure.
all.
Sure.
But when they
Scoliosis,
saw the
curvature in
x-rays,
your spine.
right. But when they
Right.
saw the x-rays and everything, they're like, oh wait, it's not as bad as we thought. Let's push through. So June 95, they said, okay, come back 6 months. December 95, we need to speed this up a little bit. And in fact, they originally wanted me there in literally weeks. And Dad's like, I'm a CPA, and from January to April is my busy time.
Well, that's tax time.
Exactly. And he had to talk with the doctor and said, if we have for a year by April 15th, can you wait? doctor said, okay. And, we waited and we got through April 15.
So that, excuse me, this whole picture now that I'm seeing is that you're roughly, how old are you at that point in time?
By
16?
April 96, yeah, I was 16 already.
16. Okay, so that's right. So how did you prepare yourself for that? They're gonna. How much did they actually explain to you and that you understood?
There were other kids there, just happened to be around my age,
Uh-huh.
recovering with either recovering from or receiving double lung transplants, because they would actually keep like kidney or liver recipients separated from the lung and heart recipients.
What for?
Just different parts of the body. We see different kinds of different physicians, that sort of thing. Like the
I
kidney
got it. So it's a separate
pathologist,
floor.
we
Gotcha.
saw, pulmonologists, that kind of thing. Also, I feel I had kind of an advantage at the time, because back in 96, the internet was still in its infancy stages. And because of that, I didn't have data, statistics, numbers, so
Right.
easily accessible to me. And not having that information was actually a blessing, because I wasn't overwhelmed with this and that or whatever. I didn't have any of that going on in my head. I wasn't like, oh my God, you mean this is the average? This is the da-da? I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So for that part, that was kind of a good thing. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
and
You didn't have
also,
to worry about it.
right. And also my body was just giving me some subtle and sometimes not so subtle,
Yeah.
that I was the, yeah.
What kind of medicines during this? Let's just go to this the last couple of years. What kind of medicines were you on? What I know they're cardiac, but do you know the names of some of those medicines?
I wasn't really on medicine at that time.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I think they briefly had me on prednisone, even like
That's what I was going to
a
ask
little
you
bit
specifically.
pre-transplant.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody
But
gets that
that
gift.
was really it.
Yeah. Okay. So there wasn't any cardiac meds like Cardilol or anything, and not Cardilol, but Cardazyme or any of those types of medicines.
Nope. I mean,
It-
I would sometimes do like a
That's good.
nebulizer, but again, that's lung. That's
Yeah,
not
that's lung. Yeah, that's the
heart.
next question
Yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah. Because
Mhm.
I think the picture here is always that the heart, and when it doesn't pump correctly and it's not oxygenated correctly, the first thing it affects, although it affects the whole body, it affects the lungs first. It really
Right.
starts to deteriorate and go
Right.
the wrong way when it starts involving the lungs, because
Right.
they're kind of in tandem. They kind of like work
Mhm.
together, right?
Yeah.
They're synergistic. So I don't. Did you have did you have any pain?
Well, kind of funny you say that. One of the not so subtle signs that I was running out of time, it was sometime around May of 96. Um, we were at the library one day and I was just going through, like some books or whatever. One minute I'm going through the books. Next minute I grabbed onto one of the racks and everything and I just pass out.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I just fainted.
Yeah.
And once I
Totally.
just completely fainted. Wasn't the first time, but wasn't the first time I'd fainted, but the first like big one I've had.
Yeah.
And when I came to, I just started trying to grasp for air, just for any breath, and I tried to grasp for my mom, like, mom, like just
Yeah, yeah.
I just could not get a
Couldn't draw a
breath.
breath.
Nothing. I mean, I just could not get the oxygen in my brain at all. My parents took one look at me. We checked out the books. We, hightailed it out of there. The next time I went to clinic, the doctors told me point blank that if I had another episode, I'd have to wait in the hospital. Thankfully, that never happened.
It's interesting you say that, because in our support group on Thursday night that we have a gal who was on an LVAD, and that was kind of the direction you probably would have gone if you had been in the hospital. They would
Right.
want to put you on artificial type of. Did they
Machines.
have that back then? Did they have the LVAD back then?
Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look.
I don't think so. I'd
Oh,
have to do research on that also. I think that didn't come in until later. That's a left ventricular assist device that helps the ventricles function. I don't think that was available. That maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But
I don't know.
I mean, you were critical then. After
Yeah, I
that
was
episode, you're
getting,
pretty critical, right?
yeah, I was getting there and everything. And I can remember like another time we had simply walked from the parking garage across the street to the hospital. And I can remember as soon as we did that, as soon as we got there, I just sit down and rest for 20 minutes. I just could
You're
not,
pooped.
just wiped out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after the 20 or so minutes, whatever, I still had to be in a wheelchair. They had to put me in a wheelchair, and just to go to clinic and physical therapy. So
Mm-mm-mm.
yeah, so my body was giving me some, like I said, not so subtle signs.
Well, yeah, they were quite evident, but they
Yeah.
were something that you just dealt with because you couldn't do anything else. You were going to
Yeah.
have those things happen to you because of your condition.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
golly, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. So here you go. You go into surgery,
Yeah.
and you were in St. Louis, right?
St. Louis Children's is where I got my
St.
transplant.
Louis Children's Hospital. Thank you very much. If anybody gets to listen to this, thank you very much for taking care of Kim. We love you
Yep.
for it.
I mean, I got the call. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, there were a bunch of us who just happened to be around the same age who were either waiting for or recovering from transplants. Since we were all separated from like a core support systems and everything, like in our hometowns, our doctors heavily encouraged us and our parents, etc., to form their own group.
To mingle. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just mingle, but also rely on each other so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
don't just have your spouse to vent to about this or that or whatever. And for us teenagers, we could talk to each other about this or that or
Exactly.
whatever. We had
Exactly.
someone we could talk to. And so because of those friendships, we started a little tradition where, say someone was going home after 3 months, we would throw them on like a little party.
Yeah.
We went, so that night, June 13th, someone was going home the next day. We all went and met up at, my head want to say Outback, but it was Lone Star. I know it was Lone Star Restaurant.
It's okay.
Um,
Yeah. A
and what's
steakhouse.
funny, and what's funny is that right before that, we were all getting ready and everything, and my mother, God love her, she was nagging me.
Because you're a teenager.
She was nagging me about two things. One, Father's Day was coming up, and I hadn't done anything for Dad yet. And two, I needed a shower. Because by this point, I didn't care about my appearance. I didn't care about any of that jazz. So I finally dragged myself, took a shower, washed my hair, used soap, all that jazz. And then afterwards, I plopped myself in front of the computer, typed something up, pointed it out. And when it was pointing out, I thought to myself, I could have done this Friday or Saturday and given it to Dad on Sunday.
Yeah. There you go.
So God bless my mom for nagging me to take
Exactly.
that
Because you
shower
got it
and
done
to
ahead of time,
make
right?
my Father's Day card. So
Wow.
to Lone Star. I remember, like I mentioned, I was already on prednisone. I ordered I ordered some baby back ribs, had some fries, and had Sprite. I ate all my ribs, a good portion of my fries, had some of my Sprite. Then I walked to the music store, and they had one of those preview listens for an album that had just come out. And when we were leaving to go to our next place, I asked my parents if I could have the CD. They said, sure, when you get your transplant.
Ah.
someone brought their CD player and it was playing by the end of the weekend.
There you go. There you go.
So we first went to Lone Star. Then we went to a place called Swing Around Fun Town. It has like bumper boats, go-karts, and like arcade games,
Yeah.
and batting cage,
Yeah.
etc. By this point, we had brought a wheelchair with us everywhere as a just in case. But I remember I turned it down because I didn't think I was gonna need it. I played some arcade games, won tickets, playing skee ball and everything. Missed the height requirement for the go-karts because of course I did, because I'm that short. And I remember my sisters were in line for their second round of the go-karts. The girl who was leaving, her parents wanted to get a picture of the 5 of us for their scrapbook. My sisters never got that second round, and that photo for them was never taken.
Oh.
Because all of it, I was sitting on a bench, just resting. All of a sudden, I hear this noise because my dad had the beeper on him, and because he's so tall, I was ear level to it. He ignored it.
Oh,
At first,
no.
he thought it was like the game's going off inside. He thought it was like someone else. He didn't think it was us. Until I spoke up and I said, "Dad, isn't that the beeper?" He looks at it and like, "Oh yeah, it's the hospital."
Oh, yeah.
I started freaking out and I started running like Forrest Gump.
Yep.
The way that I was running, I could have gone to the hospital myself.
Run, Kimberly, run.
Exactly. And my dad's like, he yelled at me to, stop, calm down, let me go to the hospital. So, and I'm sure the people who were there, but one part of our group was like, what the heck's going on? Because there's some people out of payphone. My mom and my youngest sister were crying. And the friends were with us and everything. We're trying to assure them, like, hey, they wouldn't have gotten paged if they didn't think organs had become, good organs had become available. And I'm the kind of person who I will admit I would laugh inappropriately. I was like a hyena that night.
You just never could stop laughing.
So Dad got a hold of someone and they told him, like, yes, it's the real deal so far. So we got in the van and headed to the hospital. And we got there just before the front door was locked, or the main entrance was locked, which is a good thing, because if we had gotten there just after 10, we would have had to go through the ER entrance.
Oh, my. Yeah, good. Not good. Mm-mm.
And so we got in. My mom starts running around like, we don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. Someone eventually told us we had to go to the 7th floor to prep. They use a wheelchair and everything. I went up to 7th floor. They knew that I was going to be a hard stick. So they got someone who got the IVs on the first shot. And she got me with a really tight knot of the tourniquet. They chained me into my gown and I just kept on slipping in and out just because of like just being tired. Because at this point it's like,
oh yeah, you had to be tired.
Yeah, I mean, I was tired, but I also had that like adrenaline
sure.
rush that I had earlier, which just depleted me.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, and my sisters, they're tired. Because Melissa was 12, Sam was 8. And so I can remember like around 1:30, they came and told me that it was time, and I'm like, okay, one more trip to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more trip to the bathroom, and then they had to weigh me. So my last pre-transplant weight was 88 pounds. 88 pounds.
88. Okay. Wow.
Yep. And they wheeled us down to 4th floor for the operating room, and we happened to have our camera with us that night. So we took a couple pictures as a just in case. And I remember when they, separated us and everything, I just looked over my shoulders and whatnot, and I said to them, "Bye, guys. See you in a few hours." Like,
Like it's no big deal. Oh, this is
right.
okay, right? Yeah.
And they wheeled me into the room and everything. I got on a little step stool, lay down. They strapped me down. They had me counting backwards, starting at 100, and I didn't even get to 95.
And that at that point in time, before you went under, when you're laying there, you surely had some time to think. It couldn't have gone that fast. So there was time for
It
you
was
to think.
fast.
Okay. But your thought process at that time was, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's
I was
significant. That's
I was
great.
ready. I remember that they lowered my hospital gown just past my shoulder. But like as soon as I put the mask on it, I started taking in those breaths. I was out.
Out. Sure. Yeah. You were anesthetized then. So how long did the surgery take?
It started at 2 a.m. and they didn't wheel me out until noon.
Okay. See, and then what people probably, I know some people do, but other people who are not medically based, they put you on a heart-lung machine, bypass machine. And that, you didn't know anything about that, but you know, that bypasses all your bodily function and literally, uh, keeps your heart steady so that they can take it out and do all that kind of thing. You know what I can't get, and I've got a couple of really great friends who've had heart transplant. I cannot, in my wildest imagination, wrap my head around what it would be like to know that you're going to lose your heart. They're going to take your heart out. Lungs are one thing, but your heart.
Mm-hmm. They did all of it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So that 2 o'clock until noon, that's a good while. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They gave me the good stuff.
Yeah, really. You stayed under for a good while. Once you've had the surgery and they started waking you up and everything, I know that every tube in the world was coming out of every place that it could in your body. But what was your first thought when you woke up? Can you remember that?
Oh my goodness. I mean, for me, my first few moments are like blink and you'll miss it memories.
Sure.
Just because I was just fading in and out. I mean,
right.
The doctors, purposely put me under a medically induced coma.
Sure.
On top of that.
Right. Because so they could protect your airway. So they made your lungs work right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I can remember where it's night and I know this because everything is dark and the only thing I can hear the hum of the machines.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could hear.
Right.
Like the next part I can remember my dad asking me if I wanted him to give me frozen yogurt at the hospital or to go across the street at Barnes and get it there. And I can remember I pointed out to let him know to go across the street.
Yeah.
I
do remember Dad, that. Get going.
I remember it was the blinds were closed, but it was like sunny. The sun was, blowing and everything. And my mom's friend Chris, who by some serious divine intervention, she flew in that morning, June 14, that Friday morning, which was perfect because that allowed my parents to be with me in the ICU. She could be with my sisters and
sure, she could babysit.
Whatever, and my parents didn't have to worry about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can remember that Sunday morning, she had, mask, all the gown, everything.
Yeah.
She was saying goodbye to me. And I do remember waving my arm, saying goodbye to her. I do remember that.
So that was what, day 1, day 2, day 3?
Okay, I got the transplant on a Friday. That was Sunday.
Yeah, see, so you're 2 days in, two surgical days in,
right,
Saturday and Sunday.
Right. And like my parents remember when I was taken off the vent and respirator because that was Father's Day.
Oh, it was. Okay, yeah. Good thing you got him a card.
Right. And my mom remembers walking into the PICU that Sunday morning, and they had just taken me off of the ventilator and respirator. Okay, so this is less than 48 hours after I was wheeled out.
48 hours
Less
after
than 48
transplant.
hours. I was
Yep.
wheeled out and everything. They just taken me off the respirator and ventilator, and I'm trying to like breathe. I'm also trying to talk, and I'm just like, just trying to take really deep breaths, just trying to get something in, trying to get something like something to connect,
Right.
or. And the nurses are raving and everything, going, she looks fantastic. She looks this. And my mom's looking at me like, yeah, right. She looks kind of terrible.
Yeah, she doesn't look too good to me.
No, but
Yeah.
they were discovering that I was trying to talk.
Yeah.
They tried reading my lips.
They had taken the tube out. They'd taken the tube out, and so you were free to breathe. You were free to breathe, but maybe your throat was dry and sore too.
Oh yeah.
Talking,
I was
yeah.
just still trying to figure
Equilibrate.
out, like,
Yeah,
oh,
just
okay, like,
yeah.
Like what's next?
Yeah.
So I was trying to talk and everything. They tried doing my lips. To forget it. They tried to put their ears, or not try, correction. They put their ears right over my mouth. They might as well put their ears to my feet. They could not hear me.
Right.
So finally, in frustration, I literally finger spelled, I'm hungry.
Get that yogurt.
Pardon me?
Get that ice cream or whatever.
Nope.
Get something going
Nope,
now.
because yeah, so the first yogurt must have been Sunday, because that Sunday morning when they figured out what I was saying and everything, the nurses the nurses said, sorry, Kim, can't have everything till Tuesday.
Right.
They gave me like ice chips, hoping that would shut me up. It did not. They said, okay, fine. And so breakfast was winding down. They gave me a pancake, expecting me to regurgitate it.
Right.
I did not.
You kept it down.
Kept it down. They said, okay, let's give her a second pancake. Kept that down. Apparently, by the end of that day, I was having regular meals.
So there you go.
So that was probably the frozen yogurt that I was asking will probably happen on Sunday, or maybe even not Monday, because that's when I really
It was that Sunday.
That's when the fog started to lift.
So it's just absolutely amazing. What was your pain level? I mean, they opened your chest.
Oh yeah,
Kimberly, they opened your chest up to put all of the new equipment in.
Oh yeah, they had me. I think they kind of had me on a schedule, but for a semi-schedule
For medication, for pain medication.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was Sunday. I remember Monday. Tuesday is when they took the bandage off.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, I was 16. So the nurses take the bandage off. They're like, waving and everything. I looked down and I just screamed so loud. I screamed so loud, they had to give me something to knock me out and to shut me up.
Right.
Just because.
I'm sure. Shocked.
Yeah, because to my teenage mind and everything, I'm like, oh my God, he just did me like a chicken or something,
Right. Absolutely.
Which is what they technically did.
Well, they cracked your chest. They opened it completely
I
open.
had no idea.
Yeah. It wasn't like they did a little incision.
That department.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can remember either Monday or Tuesday, they started having me do physical therapy.
That was my next question. Yeah. They got you going. They got you going really quick.
Right. Yeah. Well, that, and also I think, especially with chronic illness, you've been wired or programmed to think a certain way for so long. They have to work really fast to change that so that you won't rely on, pre-transplant
issues. Yeah.
Post-transplant. Yeah.
So how long were you in the hospital?
13 days.
13? That's not very long. That's not very long at all.
No, what do you
attribute that to? You didn't have any complications, evidently. Made
No,
you
I mean, I got the transplant on a Friday. I was moved from PICU to a regular room on a Wednesday, and then just over a week later, I was released. I
right?
mean, they had me go through my first procedure post-transplant on my parents' wedding anniversary, 11 days after transplant.
Was that a biopsy of the heart?
Well, also lungs to make sure I didn't have any infection or rejection.
Right. So
Like,
they
nope,
did
she's
that.
good. So they did that for that, and they also had to place a Broviac in me.
A Broic. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but my
Mhm.
Broviac didn't like me.
Ah,
I would
couldn't
only
out.
work sporadically,
Yeah. See,
and
so those medicine that getting you squared away, they did put you on some medicine, some anti-rejection medicine. Do you remember
oh
what they
yeah,
started you on?
high dose of prednisone.
High dose. Do you remember how high?
I don't remember
60?
how high, but
A big dose.
yeah, I remember that because I remember I was like sometime around maybe like late June, early July, I literally and very unintentionally pulled a home alone. I was in the bathroom just washing my face, and I was literally, and I suddenly saw my reflection, and that's when I noticed my chipmunk cheeks, and I just started screaming and everything, and then I started wailing to my mother, "Mom, my face!" And I just did not like my chipmunk cheeks. I tried to push them back in, but of course that was not going to happen. Of course, now I try to push it
That
back in other parts.
yeah, that's the side effects of prednisone is that
Oh
fluid
yeah,
retention, and
that's
you get
prednisone,
that
moon face.
moon face and the humpback, that buffalo hump on your back. I mean,
Nope, I didn't get that, but I
you
must
get
have got
that. That was fortunate. I did. I did
yeah.
get it. Yeah. So
No, I got the chipmunk
that
cheeks from
prednisone's a
prednisone.
tough drug, but it saves
I'm still
lives.
on it.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How
I
much?
was
How much are
also
you on
now
right now today?
5.
Yep. So you got down pretty good. Any other immunosuppressive drugs like
I was
Cellcept or
on cyclosporin and
cyclosporin?
that. Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
hello hair growth that I got back in the day, and I actually miss it because my hair got very thick, very dark, and very curly.
And that's from the cyclosporin.
That's when I was on cyclosporin.
I've been on that for 36 years.
They took me off of it back in 2006 because it wasn't working for me anymore. My
Well,
body
there
doesn't
you go.
to that.
There, different stroke for different folks. But
Yep,
that's
took me
right.
off of it, and like just when I figured out how to manage the curly hair,
Yeah.
hello curveball, you're taken off of it. Now you're on Prograf and Rapamune, which does the opposite. Hello hair loss.
Yeah. Out goes your hair. So
I
that's
was
what you're
not
on now?
happy.
Is that what you're on now?
Yes,
Rapamune?
I mean I
Yeah.
figured out how to manage my hair. I've tried to lessen my stress level, which of course doesn't help.
How much how much cyclosporin, what level did they get you down to before they took you off? They took you off right away and put you on the other drugs, I suspect. But
Yeah,
was
back
it what dosage? Do you happen to remember what dose you were on
I
when
was
they took
probably
you
on
off?
like maybe like 100 milligrams.
100? Okay.
It
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't a high dose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In my case, they did get me fairly low-ish. I can remember taking the big like like oval shaped one.
Yes.
I think
Y-
that's a 100.
Yep.
But I
That's
also
100.
take the
Yep.
little one, which is like the 25, right?
Yep. Do you
Yeah.
know? Do you know that when it first started, I was on it when it first started. It was liquid. It came in a brown bottle, a small bottle of I think it was, I'm going to say 25 milliliters. And we would draw that with a syringe and we put it in chocolate milk or orange juice. I preferred chocolate milk. Orange juice, it tasted nasty. And
I still remember the smell of that.
exactly, that's what I was gonna ask you. What did you think you were gonna smell like when you started taking it?
Well,
Tell
I got
everybody.
well, I've got a funny story. about that. It was post-transplant and everything. We were still in St. Louis, so I was in the apartment. I took my parents stepped out, so I just sat at the coffee table, took my meds, left the wrappers there, and just went about the rest of my evening. When my parents got back, they noticed a smell.
Oh, yeah.
They looked in the garbage. They looked in the bathroom. They asked me if I had
Diarrhea or trouble with your bowels, right?
something going on. So finally, Dad picked up the wrapper. I smelled it. He's like, "New rule. This goes immediately in the trash."
Yeah, it smells like a skunk.
Yeah, it's
You
got a really
literally,
stinky smell.
once you open that, it was a foil package.
Yes.
It did the liquid form of cyclosporin did not smell like that. It was almost no smell whatsoever. When I first opened that package, I go, "You're kidding me. I'm going to walk around smelling like a skunk the rest of my life. I smell bad enough, let alone running with that smell." But it does, it assimilates, goes through, and you don't. But it was horrible. I was shocked when I smelled it.
Well, it's crazy the fact that I didn't notice the smell, but my parents did as soon as they walked into the apartment. They're like, "What the heck did you do?"
I know. And it's so, once you break that seal, it's hermetically sealed. Once you open it,
like a little
whoosh.
stink bomb.
Yeah. It's like a skunk walked into the room. Well, I'm glad we're off of that. Anyway. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about, I'd like to do this. We've covered about, I'm going to say probably about 15 years of your life, maybe 16,
16 and a half.
17, 18. Let's say two years post-op. What have you done? What have you done? What have they done? What has anybody done to keep you doing well for this long, for over a quarter century, 25 years?
I mean, I did go through rejection in 2006, but my doctors and I caught it early enough to resist my meds and all that stuff and everything. In terms of my doing so well, I mean, my dad and I have had this conversation, like, there's no secret. There's no
You're right.
how-to guide that I can write. I mean, the only way that I can describe it is that, that are just three big reasons as to why I'm still here. One, it was a literal match made in heaven between myself and my donor. Two, I've always been diligent with my meds. I mean,
Never missed.
I've always been good with my meds. Like, I've only like truly forgotten.
Yep, and it happened.
AM meds like a handful of times.
Yeah.
Evening meds even less.
Yeah.
If I'm like so sick that I physically can't take a dose, and if it's gotten to the point that I miss 2 doses, I'm already at the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole other level of sick for me.
Yeah, that's true. You can get a sickness like a nausea and vomiting or flu or something where you can't keep anything down.
Yeah.
And you go past 2 doses, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, like, I remember in February of 2017, I ended up getting bronchitis and a touch of pneumonia. I do not recommend that.
No. Not in transplanted lungs. But you know what? How could you not get it?
Well, it's funny that I work full time and everything.
Yeah.
That had been going around since like the previous Thanksgiving, my job. I was actually one of the last people to get it.
Okay.
Because I was always so careful not to touch the handrails, not to, use paper towels.
I get it.
But I still, of course, got it.
Yeah.
But because of my having no immune system and everything, I was out for 2 weeks. But I would be coughing so hard that I sounded like a chronic smoker, but even then, I made sure to like at least minimum take my anti-rejection drugs. I could
Right.
skip the multivitamin, I would skip my iron, I would skip
Just
whatever.
keep the medicine, the
Just the
immunosuppressant.
main minimum that I
Yes.
could take.
Yep.
I made sure to at least do that. So for me to not take my AM meds and not just from the random brain fog, which of course happens, but for me to like honest to goodness not take it, it's so rare.
Yeah, and that's been my over 36 years with me. I can
Yep.
remember. And
Yep.
I just went through a period of time here just a few weeks ago where I missed a dose in the evening. I missed a dose in the morning a week later, and then I took a night dose in the morning. So,
Then those brain farts, I'm like, oh boy.
I know you go to think you're so in a routine. You're so set on everything. It didn't panic me, but I go, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah,
Why you've
yeah,
taken these for years? Can you not get it right? Can you not get
yeah,
it straight?
yeah. It like jolts you a little bit. It kind of like, okay, yep, gotta get back.
Yeah, you
And
do.
yeah,
Yep.
yep.
I think I wanted to make one quick statement here. You did what you made mention of what I talk about in my support group all the time. If you have symptoms, if something's going wrong, it's not right. You should know your body enough to realize that you can't overcome anything. You got to go to the doctor, right?
yeah, it's just one of those things where, just because I know my body so intimately, I know when I need to contact somebody and when I don't, because my dad
Yep.
and I have this thing and whatnot. We refer to it as the panic button. Like we
Yep.
make sure not to hit the panic button because if I did, I would be hitting it like all of the time.
Yeah, your hand would get sore.
Yeah. But yeah,
Banging on the panic button. Bang, bang, bang,
hitting the
bang,
panic
bang.
button all the time. I mean, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
Um, but like I was saying, the third reason why I'm still
Right.
here is just sheer luck, which I know sounds like a weak way to wrap it up. But like I have a lung recipient friend right now. She's battling cancer. She was at the last games.
See,
She's
we
not
have
doing,
no, she's not doing well.
no,
Most people don't.
yeah,
We've gone through this thing and we haven't even got to the quarter century club, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that. Right? In all honesty, because I've done 100 and your number 117 podcast, 117 podcast. And I've only had one other. I had George Martin on, who was in charge, of that. What in the world did you ever in your right mind think that you would make it a quarter of a century? Did you in
no.
your heart? I didn't either.
I mean, back then and everything, when I got the transplant, I just wanted to live long enough to graduate high school.
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing friends' kids graduate high school and do this. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yep. And my youngest sister, she just had her first child, a little boy, back in February.
Auntie Kim.
So now my new goal is to watch him graduate.
See? A lot of people think, oh, you're so lucky. It's not luck.
No, it's a
No,
lot of things.
in all honesty, if I hadn't had Jesus Christ with me, I know I wouldn't be here
Mhm.
if I didn't have him in my heart. So, and I'm sure so when people say, "Oh, you're one lucky fella," no, not lucky. I'm blessed.
No, it's a combination of things.
Yeah, and you can't put your finger on one thing. That somebody said, "Well, how come you can go that long and other people can't even keep their kidney for 1 week or 1 month or 1 year?" I don't have that answer,
No.
and you don't either.
Mhm.
And I think that's significant because you are chosen to go on, and you're chosen to do what you're doing by the grace of God, not because you're lucky.
Yeah.
So I think the world of you. I've gotten to know you really well now, and we'll have to see each other at the games one of these
I
times.
know in Alabama.
Is that where it's going to be? I'm going to be there. I'm
Oh,
going
you
to
didn't know that?
be. I've been raiding up. I need to get back to it.
Yes, Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, I got that.
It's gonna be hot.
Oh yeah. Now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You couldn't spend 2 hours. You couldn't spend 3 hours. You couldn't spend a whole day getting what we need to get totally out of what we've talked about here. So
Mhm.
I'm going to sum one thing up, and I'm going to just ask you one solid question.
Okay.
And you don't have to answer. You can always text me, and we'll leave it up to,
Okay.
all right? But do you think in your heart of hearts that your family and you understood everything you needed to about this, or did you go on faith? At 16 years old, did you go
I
on
think it
faith?
was faith. It had to be faith.
Yeah, because you had no other
Because-
choice, did you?
Yeah, because like I don't know where that 16-year-old found that strength. I would hope I would still have it today.
I'll bet you do. I'll bet you do. I can see it in your face. So the
But
second
yeah.
that's the whole point of this whole experience. They say, what's it like to be transplanted?
You
It's
can't
no
really
different.
explain
I mean, it's no different than just being alive.
it.
But I do know from the bottom of my heart, that donor family,
Yep. Yep.
and so here's the last question of the day. Here it is. Do you know who it was?
Yep.
Okay, tell me how that all worked out.
Well, I did it in a bit of an unorthodox method. I did try through the proper channels originally.
Right.
But then because since my transplant was in St. Louis, I had to contact that OPO. They told me that they did have my file. They had to contact the OPO from the state of Illinois because that's where the organs were procured. I said, okay, great. I waited. And then I hear back from them a few weeks later and they said, oh, the file was lost during a system upgrade. I'm like, huh? But I just went on with my day. It just one of those things that sounded kind of weird. And I spoke with the recipient mom at a past games, and she's like, "Yeah, they lied to you." So through the Organ Procurement and Transplant Network website, I've always known that there were 39 heart and lung transplants done in the U.S. back in '96. Out of those 39, there were 4 within my age group, 11 to 17. 2 were done in California, 2 were done in Missouri. First me, then someone else exactly 12 weeks later. He's since passed away, but yeah, I have no idea about the other 2 in California. I would love to know if they're still alive. I'm just curious. But out of those 4 recipients, I was the only female, which narrowed things down
Okay. All right.
considerably.
Yeah.
Then I discovered I could break it down by one more category: donor age.
Donor age.
Once I did that and had a match, I saw that my donor was actually between the ages of 6 to 10, not 11 to 17 like I thought.
Yeah.
I was told
Yeah.
originally.
Right.
Then I went to Ancestry, typed in the information I knew were fact. Date of death, because of the night you got the call. State of Illinois. For birth year, I put in like 1988, plus or minus a few years to give it some breathing room, just to expand.
Get some numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibilities. Yeah.
And for keyword, I put in female because I just always had a hunch that my donor was a girl.
Okay.
As soon as I did, I got a name at the very top. Now, here's the catch. A few years prior, a friend of mine who had an account like an actual bank account on Ancestry. Did some research based on what I knew at the time. And she came back to me and said, I don't find an 11-year-old, but I did find this 8-year-old.
A 10?
Hmm?
How old?
8.
8. An 8-year-old. Okay.
Yep, she told me she found an 8-year-old. This is her name. These are the pictures that I found. The name that she told me was the same one I saw at the very top.
I was gonna. Yeah.
And then, and this is one of those things where it just like crossed my mind at the perfect moment. The site familysearch.org. Run by the LDS Church, but it is my favorite price, free.
Yeah, there you go. That's like Kidney Solutions is free.
Then I logged into my account, typed in the name that I see on Ancestry. I got a different picture this time. And it took me a moment to realize that it was her mom. Then I went to Facebook, typed in her name, found her. Didn't do anything for a week. I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen, what the reaction was going to be. And my friend, God love him, was like kind of like, pushing me and everything, like, come on, you do it. I'm like, not tonight, I'm not ready. He turns around and says, well, I think I might have messaged 2 of your donor siblings.
Oh, the siblings.
Right.
Okay.
I was not thrilled. So the next day, my then potential donor mom gets back to my friend like, hey, I'm hearing you messaging my children. What's going on? And I mean, she's tiny like me, but she got all, a protective mama bear.
Sure.
My friend had to assure her and everything going, that he's not crazy, not a scam artist. I'm trying to help a friend. Long story short, she admitted that yes, her daughter's heart and lungs went to a teenage girl. She messaged me. We've been talking. She always knew that her daughter's heart and lungs went to a 16-year-old girl from Florida whose parents and sisters were happy to have her home. And last year, she sent me something that 1,000,000% confirmed it. She got the letter my parents wrote barely a month after my transplant.
Oh my goodness.
As soon as she saw it, I was like, because I remember my parents handing it to my transplant coordinator one day in clinic.
Yeah.
So I found my donor family.
What a story. I
found my donor family. My parents and I flew up to Chicago 4th of July weekend to meet up. My donor was the third of 6 children, 3 girls, 3 boys. Unfortunately, she never got to meet her younger sister this side because her mother was pregnant. And I've learned so much about her, and I'm like, okay, this is not coincidence. We just have so many things in common that it has to be some sort of divine intervention taking place.
See, there's that what a great story. You went around, and I think that's a deep bond that people have. I didn't have any trouble. My brother gave me a kidney, but I've spoken to other people who want to know, and friend out in El Paso right now who had an anonymous donor. And this guy or gal, whoever it is, has not given it up, and he just wants to thank him so bad. I said, just write a letter. It'll come. Just write a letter and it'll come.
Yeah, I mean, right? I did write some letters myself and everything, but I mean, from what I understand, they moved around a lot, so they never got them.
Sure.
I did at least get that person for my parents. That 100,000% confirmed it. I had it right. I found the right person.
Yes, you did. You little detective.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna. I don't think there's any more to say. Do you? Because if you got things that you forgot or wanted to say,
I don't think so.
I don't know how we could do it, and I don't care how long it went. I have had the joy. time of my life here today. It's just amazing. You're so cool. And you know what? Let's meet up in Birmingham. You want
Really, yeah.
to?
Because you're
Okay.
in Team Texas, right?
Yes, I am. And I'll keep track of you. You keep track of me too. Don't lose me.
I'll find you on
Please.
Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. And go to kidneysolutions.org. I'm there all
Okay.
the time. Yeah, go there. And it's okay. We take heart and lungs and liver and you would be a joy to have on the support group on Thursday nights.
Thank you.
You'd be fun. I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
Okay. So in the meantime, and get this now. In the meantime, I want to just thank everybody who listens to this, and I want you to share it because I think it's a marvelous story, but most of all, it's a heartwarming story. It's a kind of thing that you want to hear. It's the kind of thing that you need to hear, and it's the kind of thing you need to share. So please step out and share this podcast with anybody you want. It's a joy to have done this with you tonight, Kim.
You too.
All right. All right. And as I always say to my folks out there, catch this. Keep breathing.